Came up with the New York Yankees. Played 2 years for the Yankees, and then was traded to the Cubs. As a free agent in 1988, he signed with the Cardinals. In 1992, while playing for the Cardinals, he pitched 233 innings. In those 233 innings, he walked 20 batters, the best ratio in Major League Baseball over a half century. The next year, he came close to ending the season with more wins than base on balls allowed. Think about that for a second. An elusive feat accomplished 4 times by 3 starting pitchers in Major League history. He had 17 wins with only 18 walks allowed in that season. He gave up 1 walk apiece in his last 2 starts and did not achieve a win in either game, ending the 1992 season with 17 wins on 20 walks. Wow. He threw the eephus pitch to Mark McGwire. In interleague play, Mark McGwire grounded out both times. What is the eephus pitch? That's the lob, right? That's the lob. That's the eephus pitch. So there you go. Joe Buck says of the book, nobody I've come across in my almost 30 years in the game did more with his God-given talent than Tewksbury. But more than that, he was always different. Not just an athlete, but a deep thinker, a good teammate, and an even better friend. This book is a must-read for anyone who wants the inside look into the mental aspects of baseball. Do we have Bob Tewksbury?
Was about to join. There was an error on the phone line.
What is going on? This is outrageous.
He's still within the time constraints of the Costas rule.
Well, he's outside of the Costas rule. We might call this the Costas-Tewksbury rule. Yeah, which really, it's really the Costas-Tewksbury-Matheny rule.
They were in the same movie, not Mike. Bob and Bob were in the same movie, The Scout. Costas and Tukes.
I did not see the movie, The Scout.
Was Steve Nebraska and Albert Brooks?
Oh, I did see that movie.
He goes to find Kong and he finds Brendan Fraser in Mexico.
Oh, yeah. There was another movie like that with James Edward Almost, where he was a scout and was a catcher. And there was some big right-hander out of Nebraska that he was trying to sign. And
why are always the big relievers
because
out of Nebraska?
they're always the farm boy out of Nebraska.
The kid that
in the Natural.
Roy Hobbs, yeah.
In the Natural.
John whatever, the big lefty.
The big lefty out of Nebraska. They're always the big lefty out of Nebraska. Or the big righty. Yeah, the big, because that is the literal and the literary, Midwest farm boy out of nowhere.
Yeah. Corn-fed.
Right.
And
yeah,
all
that's
that
the
stuff.
whole deal. All right.
They're calling back.
Do we have Bob Tewksbury? We're only allowed 6 visits to the mound, and we're stalling here.
You have him.
We do have Bob Tewksbury. Bob Tewksbury, are you there? I can hear you breathing, Bob Tewksbury.
Hello.
Hello, Bob Tewksbury. Welcome back to St. Louis, and welcome to Big 550 KTRS.
Hey, it's great to be back in St. Louis, even if it's over the phone line here, but it's always good to be in St. Louis.
You betcha. The book is called 90% Mental, and who knew that after your playing career, you became a mental skills coach? I could use some of your skills from time to time.
Yeah, there's a lot of my teammates that are going, who would have thunk it, right? They're like, geez, did you hear what Tukes is doing? You got to be kidding me. It's been a great second career for sure.
Is this book only for baseball, or can regular people who worry about all sorts of things? Is this beneficial for them too?
I think it is. It's kind of a narrative. Baseball's the backdrop of the story, but it's about success. It's about overcoming challenges. It's about the mental components that players, they happen to be baseball players, use that I think can be applied to all kinds of different aspects of life. Golf, tennis, business rooms, meetings. Whatever it is, I think it's definitely applicable to many different domains.
When you were playing, how much of what you employ now you learned while you were playing, and how much did you learn after you were finished playing?
Wow, I used a lot of imagery, visualization when I played, journaling. I kept logs on before there were all these in-depth scouting reports that teams have now. I kept my own scouting report. So I did a lot of this stuff, self-talk. I had a lot of games where I had poor self-talk and I had bad games, and I had good games where I had good self-talk and I had good games. And so I practiced it. I just didn't know the research behind it, and I think that I, learned even more about, the empirical, based evidence on how the brain works, concentration, how the benefits of relaxation from a physiological standpoint, and those different things. But I had the on-field stuff, and I really feel like learning the material helped me become more well-rounded in the aspects of performance.
So you now work for the San Francisco Giants after a long career with the Boston Red Sox as this mental skills coach. What is a day like? Do you go up to a player who goes 0 for 4 and gives him a pep talk, or how does your new job work?
Yeah, no. In the minor leagues, maybe yes. In the minor leagues, the players are sponges and they want to get better. And if you have a relationship with a player, you may do that. But you would never. I think that you need to have some feel. And just because a player doesn't play well doesn't mean that he had bad thoughts. It could just be that he didn't have a good game. So I think that mental skills coaches have to be careful about how and when to approach players. But say I had a relationship with a player that we were working on something, and it would probably be the next day. I would say, hey, tell me about last night. What were you thinking? Take me through this at bat, that at bat. But it's a very individual-based thing. Not all players want to use this resource, or maybe even need. I won't say need it. I think everyone can use it, but some people just don't want to take advantage of it. But we talk about, post-game, a pitcher. I never talked to a pitcher after the game because I didn't like anyone talking to me right after the game, so I kind of respect that.
Right.
But the next day I'd go up and check in with him, or I may do a little team presentation to the hitting coaches or the pitching. It could be the coaches, it could be the small group of pitchers, it could be a small group of hitters. It's kind of whatever the team needs, but there's a difference between working with minor league players and major league players. Minor league players are more accessible, and you feel like you can, go up and say something to them. The big league guys, you need to have a little bit more pause and let them come to you.
The book is called 90% Mental. Bob Tewksbury, our guest for a couple of minutes. I've heard pitchers say, Bob Tewksbury, that they're standing on the mound and they're going to throw a fastball. And they say to themselves, I don't want to throw this pitch. I don't want to throw this pitch. And as they're in their windup, they're saying to themselves, I don't want to throw this pitch. And it gets knocked out of the ballpark. It's a double. It's a triple. And those are the only hits they give up. The ones that they're saying in their mind, I don't want to throw this pitch. What do you tell? Does that happen to other pitchers? And what do you tell them?
Absolutely. I can still, as you were talking about that, I kind of knew you were going. And I remember being on the mound and pitching for the Twins, and Alex Rodriguez was the hitter, and it was a curveball, and I got right where you said, right where I was going to throw, and I was like, don't hang this, and I threw a hanging curveball, and he hit it into the upper deck. So that happens a lot, and I think that pitchers oftentimes will throw a pitch that they don't really want to, and almost always those pitches get hit. And it's funny how that happens, but the pitchers need to. I think the pitchers have a thought that comes up when they get the ball. They need to trust those thoughts. Sometimes when they doubt themselves, as you said, and throw a pitch they didn't want to, there's hardly ever good results with those.
Yeah. How do you explain John Lester? He can throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball on the corner of the plate, but he can't throw it to first base.
Yeah, I can't. I can't. I wish I could explain it, but that's a phenomenon. The throwing issues of softball. It's like the golfer yips. It's a something that's still being researched, and studies are done on it. And I don't know the answer to that, but I know that what I do know is that in spite of that, he's still a really good pitcher, and not everyone could have that same toughness if they knew that they couldn't throw to first, and everyone in the ballpark knew, and the runner knew, and the guy's going to steal second no matter what, and maybe third, but he still competes to win. That's mental toughness.
Yeah, or the Mackie Sassers of the world who can't throw it back to the pitcher as a catcher, but he can throw it down to second base.
Yeah, well, I remember I was with the Cardinals. We were in Shea Stadium, and David Cohn was pitching, and Mackie Sasser was, he'd fall on his knees, and then he'd bang his leg with the ball, like 1, 2, 3, and then he'd throw it. And so we were ragging him from the dugout, counting with him as he touched his leg. 1, 2, 3, woo! And David Cohn looked over after we did it for like a half an inning, and he kind of wiggled his finger like, okay, that's enough because I'm going to drill somebody if you keep that
up. So it's a good thing you bullied Mackie Sasser because he had a mental tick in his head. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Always an opposition, and the Mets. Cardinals didn't like the Mets.
There you go. Bob Tewksbury, you have to come back when you have more time. The book is called 90% Mental. An all-star player turned mental skills coach reveals the hidden game of baseball. Bob Tewksbury, good luck with the book, and thanks for checking in.
All right. Thanks for